Game Boy Advance is considered to most as the greatest handheld of all time. I'm probably one of those people as well, even though I do believe the Switch should contend for that spot. But anyway, here are my favorite GBA games of all time. Final Fantasy Tactics. Even though I like the idea and concepts of the Final Fantasy franchise, I have yet to fully be immersed into the worlds. Maybe someday, but I do actually really like me some Final Fantasy Tactics. The gameplay is something I love, and the world is something that I do enjoy, and hopefully someday I truly visit the rest of the games. Now, Metal Slug Advance, I'm a big fan of the Metal Slug franchise. Growing up, I played it a lot on arcades, and it was one of my favorites. And the translation to the Game Boy Advance was solid and enjoyable. I wouldn't call it one of the best games of the franchise itself, but it did do it justice in my opinion. The side-scrolling 2D shoot-em-ups is a fun game to play through in a sitting or even for small sessions. Now, Advance Wars 2, I remember playing this game a lot with my cousin, and I remember having a blast. Nope, no pun intended. It was truly a game that got me into the tactical RPG style of games. It was simple enough for a younger audience to understand, but challenging enough to keep us wanting to play more to defeat the enemies. It's also one of those games where the bright pixel art really holds up to this day. Now, Super Mario 4 Advance, honestly there isn't too much I can say about this game. It's just a really good, solid platformer, especially a Mario platformer, and you just can't go wrong with playing it. Now, The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. It's a game that I didn't play when I was young and the GBA was fresh and new. I played it as an adult when I was playing through every single Zelda game like 10 years ago, and I was upset at myself that I never tried it as a child because I really loved it. It's not exactly your traditional Zelda since it was made by Capcom, but the magic and the feel is there, kind of like how a game like Wind Waker makes you feel. Plus, I really love the Minish Cap character, maybe even more than Odyssey's Cappy. Now, Fire Emblem on the GBA is a similar story to Minish Cap. I didn't actually play this game until this year when I got the Ambernick SP handheld, and I really liked it. My first experience with Fire Emblem was with Three Houses on the Switch. I couldn't get that into Engage, but playing this game itself made me want to revisit Engage and even the other Fire Emblem games that I've been missing out on. I even love this game enough to put it above games that I've played for most of my life. The tactical RPG gameplay is great and the world around it is classic. Now, Kirby and Dreamland is actually the first game I ever played on a Game Boy Advance. I loved Kirby on the Game Boy, and so playing it on here with all the colors on the GBA was so awesome. My cousin got his GBA first, and he had this game, and I remember playing it and just loving it. And luckily later that year on Christmas, I got my own GBA with this next game. So the Mega Man Battle Network series is absolutely amazing. Nothing to this day has replicated this exact playstyle that I feel has done it this well. It's such a unique spin on the Mega Man franchise. I think I'll make a whole video on it someday, but Mega Man was traditionally a side-scrolling 2D shooter platform, and this direction was kind of odd for fans of the core game style, but I remember actually randomly getting this game as one of two games when I first got my Game Boy Advance. The other was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. My mom knew I liked Harry Potter, but I don't know what made her want to get me a Mega Man Battle Network game, especially this one, of all games. But I'm so grateful that she did because it's probably in my top 3 favorite games of all time. So while there is other better games in this series, the second game has a special place in my heart. Now, if you followed me for a while, you know I absolutely love the Pokemon games, and Fire Red and Leaf Green was an absolute treat. A remaster of my all-time favorite game, Pokemon Red and Blue. I legitimately can't tell you how many times I've played this game over the years, and I don't think I've ever gone a full year without playing through it at least once. Also, consider subbing and dropping a like. It really helps small creators like myself. There's nothing more nostalgic to me and nothing that embodies the Game Boy Advance more than booting up Pokemon Ruby. Yes, I know that Emerald is better, but I never owned Emerald as a kid. It wasn't until I discovered ROMs as a teen that I played Emerald. I grew up with Ruby and I absolutely loved it. The music in every town and route brings me the most nostalgic waves across my body, and to this day, it's the game that I nuzlocke the most. But as a Pokemon fan, the upgrades, not only in graphics, but everything in the game, from the menus, the sprites, the Pokemon menu sprites, the PC, the jump in the generations was spectacular to young Pokemon fans. I was 10 when this came out, and I remember how mind-blowing it was. Though when it released, I didn't get it right away. I had to wait months for my birthday, but the hype was worth the wait. Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald is a pinnacle in my history with gaming, and I can't imagine a gaming world without them.